All right. We are at the bar mitzvah mark now of the Harold Katz podcast, episode 13. Glad you could join us. Happy Israel Independence Day to everyone. Glad you could join us. Oren Glickman and Keepa Poppers, and of course, Coach. We have a very special guest tonight. Tamir Goodman is going to be coming on in about 15 minutes. Coach, before we have Tamir on, I think our viewers, you're either watching the NBA playoffs right now or you're watching this podcast. And you actually texted me, I think it was last week or maybe 2 weeks ago when the playoffs first started. You haven't watched all that much playoffs, and I think our viewers want to know why. What is it about the NBA that you don't find entertaining?
Well, first of all, good evening, everybody. Second of all, I did watch Sunday. I tried to watch for a few minutes while I was waiting for some lunch. I turned on the Knicks. I was brutal. Knicks and the Cavaliers. Yeah. I couldn't really stomach that much. I mean, it was impressive to see A.J. Barrett playing 2 free throws in the first quarter. I like to think a lot of that, I don't know if people know this, when you play at basketball camp, let's say you go to Nike camp, okay, or you go to Adidas camp in the summer, you're a teenager, you'll read a story how, well, I'll give you a perfect example. I saw Eddie Griffin play against Jean Jacques, and Jacques just destroyed him. And Griffin had 1 field goal and ended up with like 26. The reason he did was he got fouled a bunch of times, and they don't shoot free throws, so they just give you an automatic 2 points. You get, I guess they shoot them late in quarters or halves or something. But if you make a shot, if you shoot and you get fouled, they just give you the 2 points, which might explain why Andre Barrett playing 2 free throws is in the NBA. I understand why my kids are doing it, but they're not some of the best players in the world. But first quarter, you go in there, clank 2 free throws. Sidebar, I just couldn't handle it because neither team did anything creative, and basically everybody did the same thing. Both of them. It was just catch the ball screen, dribble. I'm standing in the corner, throw it to me, when you want, maybe, or Cleveland did a little bit because they got a little post play involved with Jared Allen on the baseline. I don't know what you call that post play. It wasn't back to the basket. Later in the evening, I think later in the afternoon, I saw some of Golden State. That's a little different. They just run something different than the rest of the NBA. But I will say this, for all those people who always ride me about the ball screen, interestingly enough, the last possession of the Kings and the Warriors, 10 seconds ago, down 2 points. De'Aaron Fox catches a ball screen, I think, from Harrison Barnes, maybe, or somebody else. And of course, Steph switches onto it, and Draymond Green stops the penetration from Fox. They kick it to Harrison Barnes, who takes a contested 3, clanks it. I'm not really sure why that was the play they come up with, or the idea they came up with 10 seconds to go down 1. And all you need is a bucket at the rim, and you tie the game. I mean, you take the lead and win the game. So, for all the ball screen advocates, here's a situation where you brought defense to the ball in the last 10 seconds of the game. Fox is the only kid really giving you anything. And you turn around and bring more defense to the ball in the last possession of the game. Instead of running something, let's say you ran 4 flat. You just put 4 guys on the baseline. It's not like the NBA in the old days, where the NBA in the old days, you couldn't sit in the paint, but you would run 4 flat and then run some flare screens or some back screens or something off of that. And then Fox could do whatever he wants at the top of the key. He wants to take Green off the dribble, whatever. But the NBA is not it's not been an innovative league. As I've said before in this podcast, almost everything in the NBA has been stolen from college or high school, including what the Warriors do, which has kind of been taken from Division III, where Popovich was doing. And now it's morphed into some other things. The ball movement, people movement, that's what makes them unique. And everybody likes to point out the talent on Golden State because it's Steph and how great he is and Klay Thompson. But there's been a steady exchange of people, including Harrison Barnes, David Lee, Andre Iguodala, guys who have come through there, played for them, won championships with them, and yet the core three guys continue to keep winning. And, I don't know what's going to happen in this playoff series. And they're just running something that the rest of the league doesn't run. Oh, yeah, well, they got Steph or they had Durant or whatever. And still, they ran stuff the rest of the league didn't run. It's still hard to guard. Now, I would have told you that 2 decades ago, watching college basketball was far more entertaining because you had creativity and you had, coaches who were kind of running actual stuff. I know J.J. Redick always complains that, Kansas is still running. There's no innovation. There's no innovation in the NBA. J.J. can say whatever he wants. Innovation's not even the best athletes in the world. They just are. And they make a game that's not easy look easy. But at the same time, what's happened is that kind of nonsense has trickled down into college. And because you have so many one and dones, all the college kids, nobody wants to play with movement. They just want to dribble and use a ball screen and stuff like that. So you have the same boring, antiseptic, is that the word? Mind-numbing, stand in the corner. I'm going to dribble a lot. You're big, so you come out here, screen for me. We're going to get our NBA mismatch. We're going to post up, 20 feet from the goal, and everybody going to go one-on-one. It's not like that's why guys like talking to Scott Davenport last week, Coach Davenport. That's why, I'm looking forward to other guys. That's why they're so unique, because they have movement, ball movement, and player movement equals buckets, period, on any level. The NBA and college, Division I in particular, is kind of morphed into each other a little bit. And I still prefer the college game over the NBA game. But as far as that, look at it this way. Of the guys playing in college this year, you're probably going to get, 30 of them, maybe 50 of them playing the NBA next year, maybe. That's how great the talent is in the NBA and how much less it is in college. So what used to happen was you had to run stuff in college because you just didn't have that kind of talent, that they have in the league, where you could kind of get away with just living on the talent of Kevin Durant. Right. Or Anthony Edwards, something like that. You can't really, and now college, every kid thinks they're going to the league. So now college just starts running that because, like I've said before, most coaches are just copycats and lazy, to tell you the truth. And
do you think there are any? Do you have any programs in mind? Like, do you think the NBA poisons some programs at the college level? And notice I said program and not culture.
Yeah, I think the NBA's poisoned it down all the way to the high school level. Because now everybody's just ball screen. It's kind of like a byproduct of analytics and all that stuff. And, I think that's kind of what's happened here, and so basketball becomes cookie cutter. Everything looks the same. Dribble.
And you even mentioned at one point the Golden State Warriors are the only team that you'll make an exception for, where you'll take time out of your schedule to watch them in a playoff game.
Which is kind of what I did Sunday for a little bit.
Right. So what is it?
End of the third. Well, they ball movement and player movement.
Right. I was going to say, what is it about Steve Kerr that separates him from the rest of the country?
He played for Pop. I used to think that about Budenholzer when he was in Atlanta. They got to Milwaukee, and there was really more of the same thing you're watching everybody else do. They just have Giannis. So, It's to me. I need to be kind of not intrigued, but I need to be stimulated a little bit to watch basketball. I can't watch the same. Like you could just, it's all laundry now. It depends on the laundry. It's not like the laundry at Golden State's different than the laundry with the Knicks, but the laundry with the Knicks is the same as Cleveland. The Lakers, same as Cleveland. Same as Minnesota.
Right.
It's all the same. They all kind of do the same thing. The teams that are unique, like Steve Kerr played for Pop. He also played for Phil Jackson, where you had the triple post. So, by the way, and I ran the triple post in college, and the triple post has ball screen in it. So I'm not, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like this.
Yeah.
And not only that, but our guest played for me. And
he's here. He's in the lobby.
Oh, okay. We ball screened for him. So, not a lot, but through our movement. But we didn't do the nonsense that they do now. So I don't want to take up time with them. I'm excited about having Tamir on the show.
Let's bring him on. Here he comes.
He's from live from Jerusalem on Yom Ha'atzmaut.
Yeah.
At 4:15 in the morning.
And here he is, the Jewish Jordan himself. It is Tamir Goodman. Tamir, welcome to the Harold Katz podcast, or in your case, the Coach Katz podcast. Yom Ha'atzmaut Sameach to you.
Katz Sameach, thank you for having me on. It's a great pleasure.
Sure. It's such a pleasure. We can't wait to see you two go at it. I mean, we know you guys talk every day, but now our viewers have an opportunity to see what your conversations are like on an everyday basis.
It's actually great to see you, Tamir. And I was just telling Oren and Akiva, I think this is the first time we're on the same, after all we did, I think this is the first time we're on the same media event since your junior year in high school. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. And I think that, I'm so happy. I'm so happy about this podcast in general, because I feel like for so many years, you just have so much to offer the world, and finally people are able to learn from you and hear from you. And I'm a big fan, so thank you to everyone that made this possible. And I'm humbled and honored to be on here, and especially at the same time together. I live with you. I live with you in my heart and soul all day, and now we're actually able to share it with other people, like you said. So thank you.
That's awesome. I appreciate your kind words. Let's go. Let's maybe hear it from you, okay? Because they hear from me a lot. And I'm going to let these two go at you after a while, because I'm sure they're going to want to know some stuff about me that only you know. And you're basically free to share. But let's go all the way back to when Ruvain, your brother, was playing for me. Did you, because I really, in this podcast, really want to somehow get to just how much work it took to actually be who you are now. So, but that took work that you and I know about that nobody else kind of does. Why don't you? So I'm taking you off your speaking page, right? You can't drop any of your regular speeches here. You have to really dig deep into kind of the memory bank and explain to everybody what, kind of how you kept hanging around my gym. I kept hanging around my gym when you were little, and I couldn't get rid of you.
Yeah, well, first of all, Hashem, God just blessed everything in that I grew up in Baltimore. None of this would have happened had I not grown up next to you. That was the ultimate blessing, because I had the support of my parents, but my parents kind of handed me over to you. So that was divinely ordained. And I had such an immense love for the game of basketball. I loved the game so much, and I knew what I wanted to try to accomplish, and there's no way I could have done it had I not met you. And I definitely remember one of the first lessons you ever taught me was like, I told you what I wanted to do, and you said, well, you have to be able to go left. That was like the first thing you ever taught me. You got to be able to go left. And I went home and I started working on my left hand. And I think last week I sent you that picture. And
right.
And then so basically if you were in high school, like my brother Ruven, he's 7 years older than me, so I think they had to be at davening at 7:30, and then their school would end at like 6:15. But I was in elementary, so I didn't have to be in school till like 8:30, and our school was over at like 3:30, 4 o'clock. So instead of going to school with my friends, my age group, I'd go with my older brother. So I'd get an hour in the gym in the morning before school, and then when school was over, I'd be in the gym until you guys had practice, and then I'd just stay and watch practice. So that's how it all started. And I would travel with you guys. I was part of the team, even though I was, so young. I would, if you guys got permission to leave school early to go to the away game, I was part of that somehow, even though I was in elementary school.
Yeah, a mascot. But we had a stage in our gym, and Tamir used to sit on the stage, sometimes with the Goodman twins. Y'all used to sit on the stage either during practice or games and stuff like that. I mean, if there was a timeout, he had no interest in X's and O's. He'd just grab the ball, get on the floor, be like, dude, there's a game going on. Tamir, even if it took to get 2 shots, I'm coming out of timeout and he's still shooting. Like, dude, you need to get off the floor. So
yeah, I mean, the number one ingredient is the love. You got to love the game so much. And I love the game. I still love the game. And it all stems from that, and just wanted to get better. But you can't really reach your goals in life unless someone believes in you. And if you have the blessing of someone who believes in you, someone that believes in you almost more than you believe in yourself, then your life is on a totally different trajectory. And because of you, I had that at such a young age. And that is such a game changer. Have someone that believes in you, shows you the way, and lets you know that it's going to be okay. I mean, that's why the Torah says, find yourself a friend or a mentor or a rabbi. And being able to have that in my entire life is the greatest blessing for me and everything. So I always say, when Rabbi Akiva came back with all of his students and he saw his wife outside, and he looks at like the thousands of students and he's like, hey, every single thing we have is because of her. That's how I feel about you. So I love you and can never thank you. And none of this would have happened if it wasn't for the way we started out. So that's how it all started.
So you go away to Pittsburgh to school in 9th grade, right? All of a sudden
I'll tell you how that happened. I was really having a hard time with schoolwork, with dyslexia and everything like that. And the 6th grade, they kept on telling me they kept on putting me in this special class. Right. They called it 6C, like not 6th grade, 6C. And the principal kept on saying, if you get good grades, I'm going to put you in the regular class. And I was getting good grades, and he didn't keep to his word, and that was really hurtful to me. And the second thing is they didn't let me play varsity in 6th grade. Right. And I felt like I could have played.
I wanted you to play in 7th grade, right?
Right. So then I went to a different school in 7th and 8th. They let me play varsity. We're kind of towards the end of 8th grade. I was playing on the court outside, and the rabbi came down, and he's like, look, where are you really going to be able to do with basketball? Maybe Hashem wants you to ignore basketball. You're never going to really be able to do anything with it. It's been a nice ride, but maybe Hashem wants you to ignore the basketball. So I'm like, okay, I'll do it. And I stopped playing, and I went to yeshiva. But I'd already been associated and loved Chabad. So I said, if I'm already quitting basketball and I'm going to yeshiva, I might as well go to Chabad. And I go to Chabad in Pittsburgh, sit there the first day of school, the first class. They learn before they daven. Okay, so the first class, we open up the first sefer, and the rabbi goes, Hashem brings everybody into this world with a special mission. And it's everyone's job to take their physical talents of their mission and bring godliness into that mission.
Right.
So I'm like, well, what the hell am I doing here? I need to go home and play ball.
Okay, hold on. We're getting to that point. So you're spending some time, and then I think it's like, I don't know, he came home for Purim. I think it was in February. We're practicing Saturday night in the gym. and you and then Bovans of brothers you have show up. I believe it's like Chen and Ruvain, and y'all come. You remember this? And you're in black pants and a white shirt with long sleeves, basic Chabad attire. And the funny thing is, all your brothers are like dressed in basketball gear, and you're doing the Chabad thing. You remember this? And
Yeah.
and I got all your classmates that you went to school with, and the ones playing with that we're playing, and y'all are waiting. And I think it was Chen, maybe. I think it was Chen who said y'all want to run, like y'all want to just scrimmage, because Ruben knows I don't scrimmage, so y'all want to just scrimmage. So this is for Oren and Akiva and anybody listening and everybody listening. Tamir he was always small, and now he grew. He's like 6 feet, maybe at that time, and it's a long athletic 6 feet. And I mean, he does not make a shot. He didn't make a shot. And the first time he shot the ball, I went, "Who the hell is that guy?" Like he didn't have to make a shot for me. I saw him take one shot, and I went, "Dude, what happened to Tamir?" Like, not in a bad way. Do you remember this night, Tamir?
Yeah, I remember it. And it was, all I wanted to do was come home. I just wanted to come home. And the thing is, my mother is she's a straight shooter. And I called her up before I called you up. And I said, Ima, I want to leave. I want to come back home and play for coach. And she said, look, you made a commitment to the yeshiva, so you got to stick the whole year out. Yeah. And she's like, as soon as the year's over, you can go wherever you want, but we don't quit early. So then you reached out to me, and you remember what question you asked me? Can I come back? Yeah, but you asked will there be a spot for me on the team? No, you asked me something else too. Do you remember this? You go, because Kyle was wearing 22? Yeah. What'd you say? You remember that? You go, can I come back and can I wear 22? Can I wear 22? Because that was his brother's number. And I'm like, if you come back, not only will you wear 22, you remember what I told you? I'll paint your name on the baseline. And by the way, understand, he didn't make one shot. Like, I don't even think you made a layup. Like, you just played with both hands. Every shot you took was a good shot. I kind of watched and went, dude, he's kind of growing into this athletic talent. Man, he'd be pretty good for us. That's what I'm thinking in my head. Boy, we could use him on this team, because I had come to that team like in late November, and I was trying to make them a basketball team. And Shlomo wasn't there either. So, we were trying to figure it out, and then you show up, and I'm like, well, this man and Jammer right here now, he changed a little bit of everything. And yeah, I was going to tell Kyle he got to get a different number. Like, he can't have 22 if Tamir's coming back. So you remember, I want to take, like, this is important. These are important steps. This one I'm going to talk about right now is so important for every teenager who's playing basketball. You're in 10th grade. And I bring a bunch of athletes, college guys, to play against us. You remember that? And Gerard, your hero, right? Yep. And I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but first of all, we go through preseason practice. Tamir's is great. Better than I even thought he'd ever, better than I imagined, not when he was a kid. I always imagined that, but I imagined a little different. But he was great right away. And then I bring Gerard into scrimmage. This is your hero, college basketball player, a great college basketball player, a Division I talent. You remember that first half, Tamir? Remember what happened? Yeah, well, I'll tell you. The second you told me that, the second you got off the phone, it was on a payphone in the yeshiva. The second you told me that, I went down to the rabbis and told the rabbis, I'm done. Like, I'm leaving after this.
Ninth grade still, yeah.
Yeah. I told them I was done, and they actually gave me their blessing. So from that moment, the rest of the year, all I did was work out. There was a JCC in Pittsburgh, and that's all I did was train. So by the time I got to summer, I was ready to go. Like, I was so focused.
Right.
And then the first half with Gerard, though, I couldn't bring the ball up the floor. I was so nervous playing against him. And then I think you told me at halftime, Tamir, you're actually better than Gerard.
Yeah,
or something. You told me something. Though,
I did. I told you exactly that. And Gerard Garlick was, 5'10", jumped through the gym. He was he was the best defender I've ever watched play in Division III basketball. One, because he went to Temple as a freshman as a prop 48. He ended up not being able to make it in school. And then he got his life together, and then we recruited him at Goucher. And Gerard was, Mike Rhodes is the head coach. Where's Mike Rhodes coaching now? He was at VCU. I think he just got a job. Maybe Texas. No, he's not going. He was at VCU. And Mike Rhodes was his senior year in college.
Penn State coach.
Where is he at?
Penn State.
Penn State, right. And Mike was playing at Lebanon Valley, and that was our first round opponent when we were at Goucher College. And I told Gerard, no matter what happens, the first couple shots Mike shoots, he's the national player of the year. Defending and gonna be. And I say to Gerard, you need to throw these two shots, the first two shots. You need to just let him know you're. And he had that kind of ability. Mike shoots these jump shots and Gerard throws them out of bounds. And Mike had the most horrific night of his career and said that Gerard Garlick, in the press conference after the game, that's the best defender I've ever played against, because Gerard was actually that good. Anyway, he's tearing Tamir up, and it's all because Tamir's playing against his idol. And Gerard walks up to me at halftime, maybe even in the second quarter, and he's like, what's going on with him? So you need to say something to him. I'll get him at halftime, and I don't know if Gerard says anything to Tamir or not, but I tell Tamir exactly what I felt. You're better than Gerard. He's like, I'm not better than Gerard. I said, Tamir, you're better than Gerard. It doesn't matter, but it doesn't matter what I say. You're playing like you're afraid of him. Remember that, Tamir?
Yeah, and it's just such brilliant coaching, because once he told me that, it was different in the second half.
We tore them up. We tore them up. You were great. Tore them up.
It just goes to show, like, again, going back to like having someone who believes in you, someone that knows what they're saying. And it was just so great to play for you, because, whenever you said something, we knew like that was it. You would say things like, just cut the lead to 10 by the fourth and we'll win. Things like that. It's so settling for a player to know that,
I just wanted to get in the last 5 minutes and have a chance, and especially with you guys, just let's make sure we keep this a game, and we'll figure out a way to win. We kind of did that a lot when you were there, but I want to kind of. So we're pretty good that sophomore year. We go to YU tournament. Remember, we had to go to Chofetz Chaim, and Rabbi Harris had to speak to us. You remember that Sunday? We don't play till like 8 o'clock in the semifinal game. We started Shia. I don't know if we started B that night or AB that night, but either way, we start two sophomores. We're a junior, two juniors. We're like the youngest team in the tournament, and we're playing MTA in the semifinal. But we have to go to part of the deal we made with TA was we had to go make it a Torah trip too. So we went to Chofetz Chaim, and Rabbi David Harris, who's now the Rosh Hashiva of Chofetz Chaim, was speaking to us. And I don't know if you remember that, Tamir. We had to do that, and then we come back 8 o'clock at night, and whatever it was. Whatever. I don't want to get into that tournament per se. But so we get to 11th grade, 10th grade, we put you in a summer league, and you played with the local public school here, right?
Yeah, 10th grade was Eastern Invitational. I think that was the big game changer.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying you were playing at Towson Catholic in the spring.
Oh, right? Yeah, I was playing with, Towson Catholic was great. Carmelo was there that year, right. David Lund. And that was a great experience. I mean, just a great experience playing there.
Because then, I think, if I'm not mistaken, played in Towson Catholic League where the best players in Baltimore were, and then went down to Dome and played down at Dunbar with the almost everybody played there. And by the time you went down to Mass and Rec, right, Dunbar, everybody kind of knew who you were because of the Towson Catholic League, right?
Yeah, the Towson Catholic League was a game changer. I loved the gym. I loved the competition. That's really where I got to meet everybody. Everyone who played Division I basketball, every high school top prospect was playing at Towson Catholic that summer, and the games were just incredible. And I remember I got invited to the dunk contest that year for the Towson Catholic, and it was a fast day. It was it must have been it was either Tisha B'Av or Yud Zayin B'Tammuz.
It was Shiva Asar B'Tammuz.
Yeah, so I'm like trying to. Yeah, so LaFonte Johnson was there.
Right.
He's like the only guy that played at UNLV. Yeah. And I'm like complaining to him. I'm like, it's a Jewish fast day. I don't really have, and it's like already like the fast is over in like a half an hour. It's like the nighttime. And I made it to like the semifinals. It was me and this guy like Rome Travis. He was like 6'8", 6'9", big Rome. Like he could almost dunk without really jumping. But I see LaFonte, I'm like complaining to him about the fast. And he's not Jewish. He looks at me, he's like, man, just dunk the ball, man. Just no one wants to hear about this.
Sound like K2, right?
Yeah. I'm like telling him about the fast day and Jerusalem and all this stuff.
You want to hear none. That's kind of what it was like. So and then go down to Dome in I think your first night out at the Dome. I don't know it was Melvin Scott. Man, everybody was high major pretty much over there. And
by the way, Gerard came that night to watch too, by the way.
Yeah, right. I think me and your dad were the only two pigmentations down there that were not black. Right? It was just me and your dad and everybody else down
there. I definitely remembered when I saw Gerard walk in. That made me feel really good that he came to support.
You tore that up too, though. You were pretty good. And now all of a sudden there's like whispering about you. And then you go to Eastern. So I'm driving you up to Eastern Invitational, right? Now, how that works is when you go to these camps, they just have these coaches stand on the side. They split everybody up, and you just play pickup, right? So you just have these coaches stand on the side, and they're all like, Now, there's some young brother running a point on your squad, and you like never get any touches. So they split you up into the NBA, which is the highest level, mostly Division I guys. And then there's the NCAA, and I don't even know, maybe there's NAIA, whatever, but they stuck you in the NCAA because nobody even watched you. And I went over to Bobby Kennedy, who was running the place. I'm like, Bob, this kid right here, you're crazy. Like, so they switch you. I think Stevie Baker was there, and they switched you to the NBA. And you remember what happened on the first play of the game in the NBA off the tap, Tamir? Tell the world what you did on the first play. You remember this?
Was it off the around the back pass was off the tap?
No, not that. The first play you take is a missed layup with your left hand, and there's nobody around you. And I put my head down, like, oh my God, are we doing this stuff? And then you were just really good. but the first day, I'm kind of like, man, am I going to look like an idiot if you wet the bed? You know?
Thank God I blocked that. I must have blocked that out of my brain. Thank God.
It's the first play. I'm thinking, going, boy, what kind of idiot am I? I put this kid in such a bad spot. And then you had everybody else had 2 days later, everybody else had an outdoor game.
Right.
It was pouring. And I remember, I don't know if it was David Hawkins, somebody, Deshaun Stevenson, somebody was over on the other court, and that game was over. So whoever was watching that was kind of folding into your game, and you're the last game. And I think there was an injury the game before, so everything kind of got delayed, and it was pouring rain. So all the outside games had to come inside. And I mean, everybody's there. And that's kind of what you want to tell them. This got everybody's attention, and this is when you went from the, skinny kid with the yarmulke to something totally different. You want to tell them what happened?
Well, before the game, it was Tuesday night. Camp was only 1 week. And Sunday.
It was right. It was a Sunday that you blew that way up. Yeah.
Yeah. So Tuesday night.
Monday. I'm in the dorm room, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, this is not going well.
This was supposed to be my shot. All the college coaches are here. If I really want to get a scholarship, this has got to be it. I just dive in to Hashem, and I'm like, let me show the world that Jewish people could do this too. And then next thing I know, I'm on that main court. Every other game's canceled because of the rain, and I'm just got the rebound, and I was like, fast breaks were always my thing. Fast breaks were my thing because of my dyslexia. I just felt like I could see things that other people weren't seeing, and I'm at the foul line, and I noticed almost at the other foul line, in between traffic, that my teammate's open, and I threw it around the back pass from one foul line to the other foul line in between traffic, and he caught it and dunked it in. And that, they say, Yeshua Hashem Kevefine, Hashem could change everything in 1 second, and that's what happened right there. My whole life changed in 1 second just from that one pass.
Tore that up. I mean, you were great the whole night, but you tore that up. I'm not even sure. I mean, you get a couple buckets, but the whole thing was controlling the ball. What people don't really understand, and I don't think they know this about you because, I mean, I guess they found out the Capital Class, but I mean, you didn't like shooting the ball that much. Like, that wasn't your thing. You just wanted to give it up and share the ball and do that. Like, people have this whole crazy thing about you that you're just like shooter or whatever. I mean, you can do all that stuff. We worked on that, but your skill set was totally different than what people think. And
no, it's my favorite thing about basketball. The most beautiful thing about basketball is passing. It's always been my favorite thing. It still is my favorite thing. And I just love getting my teammates the ball, even, making them look great, even when they didn't realize they were open, and just getting them the ball, putting them in a position to look great. Like, that was my favorite thing, because really hard to guard when all five guys are happy. And the only way all five guys are happy is if everyone's getting touches and they're looking good. And once I felt like everyone's looking good, then they play defense better. Obviously, the offense is better, and you just end up winning games, and it's fun. So that was my thing. That's what I loved.
So then let's fast forward. So that everything blew up, and we got bombarded with people trying to get your name and your number. Everybody was kind of after it, but it was still kind of like an undercurrent. It wasn't a tidal wave, and that like it was going to become. And then opening night of the year, the next year, I think we played
Friday morning.
The All-Star game, right? Yeah, my bad.
Friday morning at camp, he invited us to play in the All-Star game. He said, like, this is crazy. You got here, no one knew who you are, and I'm here to invite you to the All-Star game. And I said, no. I can't play in the All-Star game. I'm Jewish. I don't play on the Sabbath. And I was trying to explain it to him, like, softly. And I remember you were already in the car, And you yelled at the coach, like, look, I got to get the kid home before Sabbath. I promised his mom he would be home before the Sabbath. Tamir, get in the car. And that was it. Like, we just drove. Yeah. You had your blue car. Right. And that was the first time when you were driving us home that I felt like, you know what, Hashem, those guys were supposed to be the best in the country, and God blessed me just as much as he blessed them. You know, I'm going for it. And that took me into 11th grade with a lot of confidence.
Right. And so now it's 11th grade, and we go to the friend's school, and I'm pretty confident. I just tore you up at the end of the game. Like, Tamir, you don't shoot 25 times, we're never going to win a game. Remember that? Like, because all you want to do is give it up. And I'm like, dude, you have to consider, because we lost a lot of scoring from the year before. And I'm like, you have to consider, I get what you want to do. We need you to do what I get what you want to do. You have to do what we need you to do. Sometimes the best play is you shooting the ball, is what I told him. I told you.
The way you worded it to really get in my brain was, we can't be as good as we need to be without you shooting the ball. When you said it like that, that's when it. That's fact.
The year before, I think we started off 19-0, and it was just kind of like, you know, you scored a lot of points, but you scored when we need you to score. But other than that, you know, Gary was going for 20, and Somo was going for 20. Like everybody was just kind of cooking. But that year we lost Gary, and we needed you to kind of, and you didn't do that at the friend's school, and there was that whole thing going underground. Oh, you know, everybody's looking at Tamir, you know, and so we go there, and you don't shoot, and I tore you up. I remember that. I gave you the business, right? You remember that?
Yeah, they were also being extra aggressive with me, and it was a wake up day, definitely.
Yeah, they were. So then we go through that, and then I think everything blows up. I want to say we played at Gilman. Right. And Jerry, and the NBA, here's what people don't understand. The NBA was on strike. So Jerry Bembry was a writer for the Baltimore Sun, who became the editor of ESPN, the magazine. But he was the basketball editor, but he was a writer for the Sun paper. And because he covered the Wizards and Maryland, because the Wizards were on strike, or there was a lockout, something like that. He came to our game with Gilman, where you were really good, and he's like, yeah, well, let's see what happens when he plays Mount St. Joe. Now, anybody doesn't know who Mount St. Joe is in this area, Mount St. Joe is the king. So you're really good at Gilman. That was a game I had to discipline somebody for behavior thing, and in the middle of the game, I don't know if you remember. Anyway, we go to St. Joe.
I remember exactly what you said. One of our teammates told the other teammate to shut up.
Right.
And you bent him the rest of the night, and you said exactly this: I'd rather lose this game and teach you all a life lesson. And you sat him to teach him that life. He did not go back in the game.
And I remember that day. We need him in the worst way. We'd have won the game.
Yeah.
Because then it was all, let's gang up on Tamir, and we didn't have the help for you. And so that's exactly what I said. And that, like I keep telling these guys, and I say this on the podcast a lot, that you got to do the right thing, even if it's, well, I guess I don't necessarily say it here. You got to do the right thing, even when it's not prudent. And the smart thing to do would have been to play him and then try to put the genie back in the bottle. But the life lesson was sitting in front of me and you, and here's, we have to teach that. Do the right thing, and we got to play the right way. We do things a certain way, and we're not going to tolerate that. And you're right. That is exactly what happened. I'm surprised you remember that. Well, obviously it was a good life lesson. So hold on. So then we go to St. Joe and have the lead at halftime, right? Okay. This is a story I will never, ever forget. I may have even said it on this podcast before, but I want to say it in front of you. we're up at half, and then we got in real bad foul trouble in the third quarter. Everybody got foul trouble. Shy, Slow-mo, everybody got in foul trouble. And I think we're down 8 at the end of the third quarter. And they're like that starting line. I mean, where's JJ Outlaw coaching, Tamir?
Yeah, he's coaching the Cavs right now, Cleveland Cavaliers.
He's with the Cavs in the playoffs. He's on the floor. He's on the floor that day.
He ended up being an NFL player too.
Yeah, he's on the floor that day. Playing against us. And I think like the end of the third quarter and we're in a hall, I'm like, Tamir, there's no more, we don't have a lot of time to waste here. We got to compete a little bit. And I think you had 24 in the fourth quarter against the, at that time they were top 10, but they sent 5-6 guys to Division I, maybe more. And we're down a point. You remember this? We're down a point maybe 15 seconds ago. And this is Tamir Goodman, fellas. So pay attention because, if Tamir's been interviewed by all these other people, you'll never get this story. So we're down a point, and I call timeout because I'm a freeze the shooter. I think he's a kid who ended up going to Dayton to play. I'm a freeze the shooter. We get in the huddle, and I say this. If he makes both of these, Tamir, we're going to need a 3. You remember that? We're going to need a 3. If he misses one, and we have the ball, we're not calling timeout. And I said, Tamir, it's your decision. Ball's going to be in your hands, whatever. Okay. Well, he misses the second one, and we get the rebound. And Tamir pulls one, and that puppy is in the bucket and rims out. We were down 2. Tamir shoots a 3. Now I think they're number 7 in the Baltimore Sun. So they're they're right behind Carmelo's Anthony's team. Okay, so he shoots the 3. I think Reggie Bryant, Calvert Hall was number 1 or something, and the ball rims out, and we get the rebound. We got a foul. And remember what happens next, Tamir?
What did I say? Did I say something stupid?
No, it wasn't stupid. He walked up to me. Look here, fellas, and this is really important. And now you're going to understand the toughness that it takes to be this guy and having to go through what he's going through. He walks over to me, puts his hands on my shoulders like this, right? Put both hands on my shoulders. And there's probably like, I don't know, 7 seconds left or something. It may be less, 5. And he looks at me and he goes, I did not come here to tie St. Joe. I came here to beat St. Joe. So it's such an amazing lesson. Like we're here, we're going to knock off the king here. Like I don't know if they won. They might have won I don't think they won a Catholic League. I think Calvert Hall. I think Towson Catholic won. But the lesson was, I did not come here to tie. I came here to win. We're here to win. Like, it's not, hey, really great try, fellas. Small school, the whole nonsense, right? None of that.
And the other thing is, like, everybody came out to watch that game. Keith Jennifer was there.
They're all there.
Everybody came to support. Those guys, I saw them came to support. Like, that was big time. Like, that was a great feeling.
Yeah, that was big. And he had 41. And when the game was over, the coach who's still there now, Pat Clatchy, who's one of the better coaches in America in high school. And by the way, they had called us up because Tyson Chandler's team canceled on them. So he's like, well, they canceled. They're not coming in. You guys, you want to bring Tamir over here? I'm like, because Pat knew you from the summer. And I'm, from Summer League. And yeah, we'll go. Why not? Let's do it. So we did it. And we and he kind of said to me, I've had them all in here, Juan Dixon, Reggie Bryant, Tay Johnson, Jennifer. None of them just did to us what your kid did to us just now. So, and then everything blew up because Ben rewrote it It was, I remember this, it was Christmas Day. So nothing happened on Christmas Eve. And it was a Shabbos morning in the Sun paper, and you got A1, you got C1 coverage of the whole, you remember that? Whole picture of you pointing something or whatever. You got the whole deal, the whole page. And because you were the only story in town then, and then Katie barred the door, you know, and then Maryland got involved, and then the next game out was also a fast day, right?
We used to meet at the kosher supermarket. That's where we would meet to go to our away games. And we're like starving. Like, this is how much we loved you and trusted you and believed in you. And it's like the greatest thing ever. We're all at the kosher supermarket, and like the fast just ends. And you had a bag of oranges, like 10 oranges.
That's right.
And you just told everyone, look, it doesn't matter that you eat all day. It doesn't matter. He's like, if you have an orange right now,
you'll be all right. And then we had like bananas or something at halftime. Everybody's cramping up.
So I'm like, hey, who cares what happened the whole day? I had orange. I'm good to go. It's like we were all in with you.
Yeah, we were winning at halftime too. It was just summer. So we went to a public high school tournament, and the entire Maryland basketball team shows up because Coach Hahn was coming to watch you play, and Juan was there, and Danny Miller was there, and
Steve Blake was there.
Blake was there. Was Blake there? Well, was Blake there? I don't know if Blake was
Steve.
I don't know. Was Blake there? I don't know. No, it was like Danny and Matt Hahn and Terrence Morris.
Terrence, he was so good. Yeah, he was so good.
When they came in the gym, you know, the cool thing was you got everybody's attention, and they weren't paying attention to them. And so it was kind of cool that they came out to see you. And then obviously the whole thing with Maryland went down. Here's really where we get to the brass tacks that nobody knows about. What happens now? Now the whole Maryland thing goes down. And you and I don't know if you remember this, you and I have a conversation about what it's going to take right about now. Like, this is all great that you got this here dream or whatever, but it's about to get serious now. You remember this?
Yep.
We're gonna be in the gym every night. You're already working with Rob, right? There are nights. I know I should be asking you more questions so you could talk, but I just want them to know how difficult your workout. Forget everything that was going around. You know, everybody got lost in the lights, but what they never saw was how much work you put in. Explain just for everybody, just, you know, how hard it was. How hard the work was to get you where you needed to be. And it's only your junior year. People think you were a senior. You were a junior. So you were a ways away.
Well, there was three things. There was the problem with the schoolwork, with the dyslexia.
Right.
And I had to clean that up quickly. So SAT tutors.
Yeah. You paid
all that. I had to pick that up quickly. Number two was physical strength. I had to get stronger, and I would literally just push myself to tears with Rob, you know, 4 or 5 days a week, just getting stronger, more explosive, things like that. And then gym time with you, which was my favorite. But, you know, I just remember getting home on Fridays, the second before Shabbat, and being in the gym on Saturday night, the second after Shabbat was over, and just literally pushing ourselves to tears every day. Like, just conditioning, everything was in the full court, you know, just shooting and just getting in incredible shape and just getting after it. It's always just been about work. And I remember the same time though was all the mental, you know, the mental lessons, which was always the game changer. Long trips on the road with you. You would just share so much about family and about Hashem and about life and uniting the physical with the spiritual. You know, facing the media when you have a bad night.
Yeah, you remember that?
No moping. I'm talking about like no moping. There's no time to moan. You know, picking yourself up, resilience. Like, who learns all this at such a young age? You know, it's that whole package of like school, you know, strength and conditioning, basketball, and then learning the life skills. All of your brilliant knowledge at such a young age being taught to me. That's the difference maker. You know, how to handle the media, how to talk to people with respect. Like, I'm 41. Every single thing I do, the way I communicate with my kids, with my wife, business, like I'm never late to anything ever. It's 4:00 in the morning here in Israel. You know, the way you do one thing is the way you do everything. Never let society dictate what you can or cannot do. Right. What can that person do that you couldn't do for yourself? Right. Like I never miss a workout till today because of that. Like if I'm done work at midnight sometimes, I'm never going to miss my 4 a.m. workout, no matter what. And I'm never going to miss my dominating, and I'm never going to miss my learning. And it's all that, like every single thing I do till today is at 1,000,000%. Like when I coach these future college players, you know, we start at 6. By the time I get in the gym, I've already learned, davened, and worked out. Why did I do that? So that when I'm in the gym with them at 6, I'm all in. I feel great. I feel motivated. I'm ready to go. It doesn't matter if I'm doing an interview for the biggest network or the small. Like everything I do is at 100%, and it's all these things happen because of you. I learned this that year.
Yeah, I think there are days that I remember where, you know, we like a lot of guys who are in Jerusalem with you working out. I remember the first time Donnie brought Simcha Halpert. And Donnie told me that Sim, after like 20 minutes, was laying on the ground. And he said something to Donnie like, dude, what is this? And he's like, come on, man, you got to get up. We just started. He goes, you do this every week? So Donnie goes, you're lucky you're not in Baltimore. Which is great. So he's like, are you serious? It's like, yeah. Because I remember I would make you, we were on Goucher's college floor, and I would make you pull off the dribble, and you maxed out at 4 dribbles, which means, and you got to make 10 from 3. And it's got to be baseline. And so I don't think people understand how hard and difficult that is. Because to do it in 4 dribbles, you can't walk that thing up the floor in 4 dribbles. You got to sprint that thing up the floor on a college floor in 4 dribbles, be able to get your feet about you. And you were great at it. It really wouldn't take more than, 14 trips on a tough day. But one day it's a Friday afternoon and it's smoking hot in the gym like it got, I mean, you can't make a shot. You remember this? And I'm like, well, Tamir, after like 20 trips, I'm kind of having some, like, I'm having some rahman, I'm having some mercy on you. And I go, come, Tamir, we'll get back to this drill. He goes, no, I'm going to finish. You remember that? I'm going to finish. I'm finishing this. I don't think you talked to me for 15 minutes afterwards. I'd be like, Tamir, just let's do this next drill. Whatever. He's so mad. But people don't understand how difficult it is when you commit to something like that. And God willing, next Sunday, scheduling note, this coming Sunday at 8:00, we're planning on talking to Jacob Steinmetz. And it's kind of like the same thing. You don't get to hang with your friends. You're in the gym, right? I mean, explain that to people.
Yeah, and going back to Goucher, I remember even in 10th grade, you took me to play against the college guys. They were like 20, 21 years old. And they were beating me up. And they were stealing the ball from me, and I just couldn't do what I'd like to do. And I was so frustrated, I started crying, put my head on the mat up against the wall under the hoop. And, like, hey, do you want to do this? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, if you want to do it, you're going to have to be able to play against this speed and this strength. And you got to pick yourself up. If you don't want to do it, let's just go home right now. Well, you want to go home? You're like, you want to go home? I'm like, no, I want to do it. He's like, well, then you got to pick yourself up. You can't cry up against the mat right now.
Shut up.
And I picked myself up and went out there and played. And I remember when we were done, there's 2 gyms at Goucher. There's the upper gym and the lower gym. We were done playing that night. We went down to the lower gym after I picked myself up. And one of their guys, I forgot his name, he was a junior. He threw the ball up and reverse dunked that night. I was like, man, I can't believe he could do that. And I hung out with him in the gym for like 10 minutes. And next thing I knew, that was the first night I did that off the floor, reverse dunk. And it was, again, it only comes from the resilience and picking yourself up. And you gave that to me at such a young age. I mean, it's like the greatest bracha you could give someone. Be resilient. God believes in you. You got to believe in yourself. Go out there and do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But I don't think people understand this. I told that to everybody on our team. I didn't just tell it to you. That's I just happened to be working with you at the time, but that's been a steady message that I think if all coaches want to do is win, they're really missing a massive opportunity with their players. I want to win like everybody else. But I mean, if all you're trying to do is win, you miss the point of coaching and education and stuff like that. Am I missing something?
You're 1,000,000% right. I was listening to one of your podcasts. Oh, the coach you had on, he said, I'm not doing it to you, I'm doing it for you.
Yeah.
That was a great way of saying it.
Yeah.
I'm doing all this because I care about you and I love you and I want you to have a great life.
Right.
And along the way, be a great player.
Right. And so I don't know if you remember this. We're beating somebody up pretty good and we're not playing very well as a team, but Tamir's got like 28 at the half or something. And we're walking off the floor and I say to Tamir, this is just a thing I do. I say, dude, I'm about to tear you up right now. You remember this, Tamir? I'm about to tear you up. You're going to have to sit and take it because they need to know they're not playing well. And me ripping them and leaving you alone ain't going to do us any good. I need to rip you and leave them alone. Because they're going to sit there and go, boy, he's ripping him and he's carrying out. That's kind of exactly what happened. You remember that? And I tore you up, yes. Boy. Remember that? That's coaching you up. Like, that's kind of the point he was trying to make. Like, I probably screamed your name more than anybody else in my entire career. Tamir, what are you doing? What are you doing? Right? Like I don't think people understand. It just, along with great ability comes great responsibility. And a lot of guys want superstar treatment without superstar effort, And I apologize for that. I guess you could say I gave you superstar treatment, but you gave me superstar effort. And I think that's continued your entire life, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, there's no magic in basketball. There's no magic. It's all hard work, and that's just like everything else in life. You got to pick yourself up, put yourself in a situation to succeed, and go after it.
Yeah.
And there's a way to do it. You taught us how to do it.
Hey, let me do this. Oren, I don't usually do this in the midst of stuff, but do you have questions you want to ask Tamir?
Well, I definitely want to be sensitive to his schedule because it's quite late out there.
It's quite early.
Yeah. I just want to give a quick shout out to Yeshiva League Pass. And if anyone has any questions for Tamir, please feel free to join us on the call or via the chat if you're too afraid to come on. Tamir, I think a lot of people are excited to watch YU games throughout the year. The second thing that they're most excited about is seeing the player who you're going to build up on your social media platform. Who's coming? Oh, okay. Tamir's posting that he's working with this guy right now, so he's probably coming. So tell our viewers, like, what's that whole process like, from beginning to end? And how do you work around their schedules to make sure that's not interfering with their learning in Israel?
Well, we go at 6 a.m. So they know that
just like here, just like Elliot does in New York.
Right. So they know they will. A lot of we always end off the workouts with a little Devar Torah. And and then I always let them know, like, part of this whole thing is making sure you're back in school on time for davening. It's all part of being a basketball player, and obviously I got that from coach. But I love the kids. I love them. I want to help them. I feel like everything I went through in my journey was to help. Otherwise, why did I go through it? And it makes me feel really happy to help them out. And I think the coolest thing is that even when they get to IU, they're still constantly in touch with me, and they're still in our chat with the current players that are here. And the thing that makes me the happiest is like the way I talk to coach, because it's all about life afterwards. And obviously we want them to be the best on the court that they could be, but I'm proud of them and I love them, and it's always more than just basketball. So when I see them do things on the court that I think are great, I want people to know about it, because they put in the effort and they're doing things the right way. And they're some yeshivas some kids have to leave at 5:15 a.m. As I get closer to the gym, I just see like 4 or 5 basketball players. Everyone else is sleeping in Jerusalem, but then you just see these basketball players getting to the gym, and they're ready to go at 6 too. So it's just nice to see the kids are so committed to their craft and getting better. And I'm proud of them.
I have a good teacher. They have a good teacher. You got more, Lauren?
Yeah, I have a few more. And my last question will be about coach. Something that didn't exist during your time when you were playing the game in high school was AAU and travel and all that.
It did a little bit. Yeah.
A little bit. Oh, yeah. I guess you would say it's a lot more cutthroat now. With parents getting their kids started from as young as, coach, what would you say, like 5, maybe 6?
6 years old.
Yeah. I would love to get your perspective on that. The way kids and parents approach it now that maybe they didn't do during your time when you were playing in high school.
Yeah. Well, there was AAU, and I got invited to AAU, and coach, I think we ended up playing 4 AAU games. That's it. Yeah. Coach didn't really like AAU, and he kind of say, like, hang around college basketball players, work out and hang around local college programs, he's like, that's where you're really going to learn basketball. So that's kind of the way that I grew up. I do think, though, that there is a lot of education that needs to go into parents that are now raising athletes, especially in our community, because the Jewish basketball scene is exploding, and it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and more great players are going to keep coming out. So I've taken it upon myself to do Zoom calls with parents from around the world just for free, just to try to give them knowledge so that the kids could stay as healthy as possible on and off the court, because a lot of our community is just not prepared for it. They don't have the education that I received, which is, like I said, I started off the conversation saying I grew up with coach in Baltimore. Like, if I would have grown up somewhere else, none of this would have happened. So that was a blessing. And now I try to help as many kids as possible, because if it's done the wrong way, God forbid, kids could really get hurt, for coaches and parents too. We have to keep perspective. What coach just said, like, you got to keep perspective. What are we trying to accomplish here on and off the court for the kids' overall well-being? And sometimes we're just not ready. We just don't understand what it takes.
Yeah.
And I love to try to help anyway.
Yeah. It reminds me of what coach said once on a podcast, like a student athlete, you're student first and an athlete second. So with our community, you're Jewish first, you're basketball player second,
We're student second, basketball player third.
Right.
But what I'm trying to say is, if you do it the right way, all of that becomes one.
Yeah.
It's one mission statement. And there's a way to do it. And coach used to say, like, before we went to away game, don't do anything to embarrass your creator. Which basically means, like, the way you go to school, the way you study, the way you practice, there's a Jewish way to do all of this, and it's all combined. And that's where, if anyone ever wants to call and I can help, I'm glad to explain how to do that, or try to explain it.
I'm going to interrupt Oren's question I just want you to talk about this for a second, because you do a lot with Shalva, which a lot of people don't know what that is. That's a group home for people with disabilities, both mental and physical, right? And
actually, every type. It's a world leader in research too.
Right, and you want to take them back to high school?
Yeah, just one Sunday afternoon, coach brought Yachan in to practice, and he basically said, like, these guys are going to be with us for the rest of the season. Yeah. And that's just one of many examples of like how we do things. It's not just about your own ego. It's always about sharing and caring and giving back and uplifting other people. And all that is part of being a great player. All of that is making a Kiddush Hashem through basketball. You can't separate the two. You can't just go on the court and focus about your own skill set and your own ego and not worry about other people that you could be uplifting. And
that's why you love passing.
Yeah, I mean, if and seeing the greatness in everybody. Like, I talk to Coach all the time, and it's like it doesn't matter where he's coaching or who he's coaching. He's always going to find the positives in the kids and what they've become. It's like a way of life. Just, you could leave your house and be like down and negative and see the negative in everybody, or you could like leave your house and see the positive. This sixth Lubavitch Rebbe said, we got one mouth, one nose, and two eyes. Well, why didn't Hashem just give us one eye? It doesn't make sense. And he gave us two eyes because we have to train ourselves. Our right eye is like, always see the positive in everybody, see the positive in every situation. Be a beacon of light everywhere you go. Your left eye is like, if you want to look down on it, look down at yourself and see, like, that's why you have your left eye, to see what you could reflect on. But as far as the rest of the day goes, it's all one thing. It's all positivity. Because Hashem is one, everything is attached to that oneness. And it's got to be a way of life. That's what basketball is. Basketball is a way of life.
It's crazy that you say it, because it wasn't until recently where I kind of wrap my head around the fact that I'm coaching at a school with like 30 guys. And that's this, we just don't have a lot to draw from. And I never viewed it that way till these guys pointed out to me, really. I've never viewed it that way, because I always thought, well, all right, well, we could win. We can still do this. Like, we only had 44 when you were playing. Like, or even before you with Ruben, we didn't have a lot. Like, we have what we have. Let's do it. So there is something great to be ignorant of your size, so to speak, of the group. You know what I mean? To just kind of, well, all right, whatever. So they got 1,000 kids. So what? We still do this. That's always kind of been my approach. Recently, I've kind of, these two guys have taught me to lean back on the fact that we don't have enough kids in our school. And I could always just say, well, we only have 29 kids. You know what I mean? But that was never coming out of my mouth until these guys forced me to do it. I understand the point that they're trying to make, but you kind of understand mine. And that's kind of what you just said. It's not about what we don't have. It's about what we do have. And let's see if we can do it with what we do have. We can't do anything about what we don't have. That ship's done sunk. Here's what we got. And I think with what we got in this room, we can get this done. That's always been my approach. So, I just can't just never made it to my vocabulary. Like, can't is just, yeah, I heard can't a lot from you when you were little. I can't. Sure you can. I can. Yeah, you can. The only person telling you can is you. No one else is telling you can't. You're the only person. Your self-talk sucks. You're the only person telling yourself you can't. Right? Fair point?
Yeah. There used to be a way you said it, whether you can or can't, you're right.
Whether you believe you can or you cannot, you are correct. That is, see, they remember somebody's now. Go ahead, Oren. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's totally fine, Coach. Tamir, we actually have some questions coming into the chat. I guess I'll ask all three, and you'll choose which one you want to answer. How does that sound?
I'll answer all three, but just
I may help you if these shouldn't be.
Okay, sounds good. Single biggest life lesson that you learned from Coach. Do you have any concerns about the massive growth of Jewish basketball players becoming role models for Jewish kids? Did you have any issues with the nickname Jewish Jordan?
So the first one, my dyslexic brain is mixing everything up. Greatest single lesson I learned from Coach. We were coming back from a long road trip in Pennsylvania. It was late at night, and we were listening to I don't remember what Jewish song it was, but it was like Hebrew and then English. I guess they translated in English and then they went back into Hebrew again. And he's like, I love that. He's like, I love when songs do that, and he knows about music well too. And I said, well, why do you like it? And he explained that to me, when I hear it in Hebrew and when I hear it in English, it's all the same thing. It's all serving Hashem. Everything we do throughout the day, basketball, Hebrew, English, whatever it is, it's all one thing. It's this one consistency of infusing things with godliness. And when you have that outlook on life, it's just an absolute game changer because you're always moving forward. Good times, bad times. You're always uplifting everything. And that was all the other lessons that he's taught me, all the millions, all kind of are attached to that, in my opinion, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think Coach even said
millions, family, Kiddush Hashem, it's all attaches to that. So
yeah, Coach, I think someone actually asked you once if your team had a successful season, and you said
he was at the press conference with me.
You said to be determined or something like that, right? Because
I said we'll find out in 20 years. Tamir was there. He sat right next to me. But to his credit, I'll say this about Tamir, and this is what made him different. Let Tamir. I want to go back to we played the Heights. You remember that up in that state tournament, and you didn't want to go talk to the press. You remember that?
Yep, did not. And
sitting in the locker room.
What was that? 8 for 24 or something?
Something. It was a bad day.
Yeah.
It was what's his name? Jason Forte, right? Joe's brother.
Right, Joe Forte's brother. And I didn't want to talk to the media afterwards because I was scared they were going to put me down. And you just looked at me and said, hey, if you could talk to them after a good game, you got to be able to talk to them after a bad game.
Well, what do I say?
That was such an amazing life lesson.
But you said, well, what am I supposed to say? You remember what I said? So what am I
telling you wet the bed?
Yeah, just I picked the bad day to wet the bed. And then
got to get back in the gym.
And then the Washington Post, exactly right. In the Washington Post, it said the headline was Goodman, and then colons, whatever. Goodman. I picked a bad day to wet the bed. That's a headline in the front page of the Washington Post. You feel me? So, but that's exactly what he said. I'll go back. I got to get back in the gym. Yeah.
But here's the thing. I'm really good at saying sorry till today because of that. I had to apologize to my 13-year-old daughter recently. And I did it on Friday night in front of all the kids, in front of everybody, because of an educational mistake I made. I had an issue with her school, and I'm really good at saying sorry till today because of that. So it all attaches to that.
And people that's another thing people would never know. You didn't even want to go out. You're like, Coach, what? I can't. I'm like, sure you can. You don't want to. It's totally different than I can't. You just don't want to. But if you want them, kissing your rear end when you play well, then you got to deal with the fact that you don't play well. You got to deal with it. This is going to be the rest of your life, son. You don't know that yet, but I'm telling you, you go play in college, they're going to come to you for, playing the pros, they're going to come to you. You got to be able to step up to the plate instead of running out the locker room when you don't play well. And so you control the narrative. That's what happened. Instead of them saying, well, Goodman wasn't available for comment. No, Goodman said, I wet the bed. Picked a bad day to wet the bed. It was great. It was probably the best interview I think you've ever done. So then we're at the YU tournament, and there are, I've said this before, I think, on a podcast, and there are there's a ton of cameras and reporters there. It was crazy. And him and I, after every game, had to go upstairs to the ad building and like the 12th floor or whatever, and do an interview. And to Tamir's credit, this is what's so great about Tamir. We were in a game where I told Tamir he has to take the last shot no matter what. And he goes up to shoot it, and at the last second sees his teammate wide open under the bucket. So he throws it under the bucket, and we miss the layup. We lose the game by a point. And the interview asked me, the guy says to me, Coach, don't you think Tamir should have taken that last shot? And Tamir interrupts the answer. Remember what you told him?
Coach taught me to make the right play.
That's right.
Something like that.
He told me to take the last shot. But he also told me my whole life, no matter what, you got to make the right play. Now, sometimes the right play is you shooting the ball, like at that moment. But I can never complain when you make the right play. I've told him that his whole life. Made the right play, and Tamir says something like, I made the right play, and we just missed a shot. It's basketball. It happens, But that's he, instead of letting me answer it, he took responsibility upon himself. And even though he knew I would cover for him, he did it himself. And he's just a great man. He grew up to be a great man because of that. Like that's just a sign of a great man. You just don't know it yet at the time, But you're, as a coach, you're sitting there going, "Dang, I wish I had people back like that."
I answered other two questions. I think the saddest thing in life is, I heard someone say this, like, what is hell? Hell is like Hashem takes you up when your time's up and shows you everything you could have been. And that's really painful to see that. So I think for all the up and coming players, I think like they should go after their dreams at 1,000,000%, because it hurts a lot when you look back and say, I could have done X, Y, and Z, and I didn't do it. There's no reason that us as Jewish people should not try to maximize the God-given gifts that Hashem gave us and try to make a Kiddush Hashem through that. And then the third one about the Jewish Jordan, none of this is my personality. I don't, I like to just, it's not my comfort zone to be out in the media and all this. I like things, I'm real simple. I like my family. I'm not, I never liked any of this, but at the same time.
Your bike. You like your bike?
You gotta, it's not always about, what you want, but what God wants from you. And if Hashem gave me all this media attention, I got to use it in a way to bring positivity to the world and try to do good. So even though I didn't necessarily like it, that's what I got to try to do with it. So,
Warren?
Just had two more questions, Coach. You ever think about what it would have been like if you had played Ryan Terrell in high school?
Do I ever think about what it would have been like
to play Ryan Terrell?
I never think in terms of basketball as one-on-one ever. I always think about a team game and passing and things like that. But having said all that,
man, you had a good teacher.
That's something Coach would answer, yeah.
Well, it's just, I mean, having said all that, just wish him continued blessing and success. And if I could ever help in any way, I'm always here at 1,000,000%.
Very good answer. Lastly, dear old Coach took on the project, as he mentioned before, coaching Yeshiva Makor Chaim, a school that did not exist when you were growing up in Baltimore. When you found out that Coach was taking this project on, what was your reaction? And of course, how impressed are you with the amazing growth he was able to bring to that program in just 4 years? And God willing, you'll be working with some of those kids next year in Israel.
Yeah, I was extremely happy when I found that out, because I knew that those kids' lives and their families will be enhanced forever because of having this opportunity with him. So I'm super happy and proud of it. but it does not shock me. It's
right. Legend of Coach.
I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah, Ellie Katz said something similarly, I think.
Tamir, I appreciate.
Well, Ellie's. I've known Ellie my whole life. Ellie's always been a genius. Like Ellie, was like a baby watching film with us back in the day, and he'd already be literally 5, pointing things out, and he was just Ellie's a genius. Oh, Ellie's, I love it. Well, I love everybody, but I love all the kids, but Ellie's a genius, man.
I don't. We Tamir, I want to do more, but I know I can see. It's.
You hear the birds chirping in the background, Coach.
Yeah, the sun is rising in Yerushalayim, and obviously I'm very envious of not being in Baca right now to see this beautiful skyline. But we have to have you on again and continue this conversation because I don't want to keep you too long. I know you've already missed your 4:00 workout, so
yeah. Well, I would love to do it again, and love everybody. Think about everybody all the time. Everything that's going on at YU basketball, the Jewish basketball world in general. All this type of stuff. It's in my heart and my soul. And so thank you guys for making it happen. And obviously, Coach, thank you for everything. Love you forever.
Tamir, I love you too. Listen, I wanted to say a couple things. One, I couldn't be, I could say this about all your teammates, but I couldn't be prouder of everything you've done and accomplished. It's not necessarily in basketball, but what you've done for relations between the African American community and Jewish community, what you've done for victims of terror, what you've done for Shalva, what you've done for random people. I know what you do. I know what half your day is spent on, and I'd like to get into that at a different time. I don't want to keep you too long. So. But that we do need to talk about that at some point. And a couple things. I don't think people really understand. I think when you went to Capital Classic, and I think you scored 2 points, and you were the co-MVP with 2 points. That's how you play basketball. Everybody's looking for that 38, 40, 53 point, 56 point game. That's not really you. That's the you had to be for us because that was the job that you had to do. The real you is 2 points and being the MVP. And that's how in my head, that's who you are. You're just the kind of, forget the Jewish Jordan thing. It's really the Jewish Pete Maravich. And, kind of entertaining and doing things and getting everybody involved. And, I can remember, I think we were playing Betafilla in the Goucher, and you picked up your second foul when with 7 minutes to go in the second quarter. And I'm taking you out the game, and they chose that time to go box and one. And I told you, you're trying to get up and get the ball. I'm like, go stand in the corner. We took 3 minutes off the clock. You remember that? We just held the ball, kind of trying to bait him to play us man-to-man second half, which he did. And then I think you had 28 or something in the second half and beat him. But just go take a rest. You're doing I can't take you out the game because we'd already lost someone to the Achilles. So you need to just go sit in the corner. And I know how much responsibility you felt, but to me, the greatness of your game is the 2 point MVP. That's who you are. That's who you were that night at Eastern Invitational. That's who you were when you were healthy at Adidas. So there's so much more we could talk about that we didn't really get into, and we can't go. You can't go. We don't have 5 hours on this podcast, so we'll break this up and try to continue in a couple of weeks or something. But I'm so proud of you. I'm at a loss for words with just how much you've done for our people, and I could never thank you enough for everything you do on behalf of the Jewish people. So I'm in awe of what you've accomplished, and just thank you on behalf of our people.
I love you so much, and thank you for everything, and happy to come on anytime. And thank you everyone for making it possible. I think the time is right that we share some of the stuff that you've taught and that we've gone through, and hopefully it could help other people. And it's always kind of been private for all these years, but
yeah, God willing,
now the time's right. And
there's so much more, there's like so much more, dude.
Just getting started.
Yeah. What's that?
Just getting started, right?
It's just so much more that we could talk about. So I'm looking forward to doing that again, Tamir. Pop, did you have anything? Or can't talk? He's
not really talking. He's competing right now against the YU Yom Ha'atzmaut celebrations.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, so he probably has a great view of that. Okay, so Tamir, I'll let you go. I just thank you. First of all, have a great Chag today. And it looks like a beautiful day over your shoulder. God willing, I will see you, God willing, in less than 2 months. And then
can't wait.
That'll be a real brother.
Thank you, Tamir. You're truly an inspiration.
Right,
I appreciate it.
You guys.
Thank you. All right, fellas. Well, that was fun for me. I don't know if it was fun for you or anybody else, but it was fun for me.
I think I think a lot of people know about Tamir from a stats perspective and what he accomplished, but I don't think they really know behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, I wish that we could have got more into it. There's so much more. Guys have been asking me to write a book about it. There's just so much. Like, I skipped over so many phenomenal things. The night that Maryland came at Severn, at Howard High School, we were trailing middle of the third quarter. He had 17 points in a row. So that's what we needed him to do. And it was reluctant because he didn't want to do it. He'd much rather pass the basketball. But there was only so much talent around him, and we were playing at a much higher level than our talent. So, the way we competed was with him. He's just great. There's just so much. We didn't even get into his senior year or college or his professional career.
I was just about to say, we didn't talk about the Israeli.
Yeah, we'll get into it. There's so much more from his sophomore and junior year we didn't get into. So, I mean, maybe that's a problem when you know your guy too much.
Right.
The guy you're interviewing too much. So I apologize if that.
No, would definitely love to hear about the Towson days. If he ever experienced anti-Semitism during that time.
I was going to get into it. That game at Gilman, we had some issues.
Yeah,
throwing stuff at us and stuff like that.
And Tamir doesn't seem like he's the most reactionary person out there. So
not at all. He just plays kind of, it's a lot like Donnie used to do. Just like, I don't know why you're bothering me. I don't care. You can't bother me. Don't bother me, man.
Yeah, I think it's kind of funny, actually. I love to get your perspective on that general idea because, with the rise of anti-Semitism, some teams have the approach of let's let our playing do the talking, and other teams have the approach that we're not going to step on the court and play the game.
Well, I would step on the court and let our playing do the talking. I was remiss in Tamir a couple of days ago. Is involved with the Kraft family, with Robert Kraft and his sons, and I think they have End Jewish Hate or Stop Jewish Hate, this little blue square, and Tamir in the net that he created, which we never got to. There's it's like a thing you could stick on the middle of the net, and it was in the Hapoel Jerusalem game the other night. So he's just doing such great stuff, and anti-Semitism or something. It's something that the Kraft family put together, and it's just we didn't even scratch the surface. To be honest, we could have gone for 5 more hours easy. I'm not even messing with that. That's true.
Yeah.
There's just his work is he's great.
Yeah, I think he was actually with Omri Cosby a couple nights ago. Doing some sort of communal work.
Yeah, I think it was connected to the Robert Kraft thing. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's possible.
I'm sure, but thank God they've had a good relationship. So one day maybe he can talk about that.
Yeah.
Maybe when I go to Israel, we'll try to arrange that.
Yeah. And he's definitely making you proud every day. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah.
So, was there anything else in there in that chat? Any stupidity or?
Pop is shaking his head.
Pop is shaking his head. What's up, Pop? Can't talk now?
Is the party over yet?
He's not allowed to talk because he's in the building. It's too loud, Pop.
A lot of dancing in the gym, probably.
I don't know how loud it sounds on your end. It's pretty loud on my end, but there's nothing else in the chat.
Okay.
Here a little bit, but not so much it's affecting you.
That's good. I sent Doran, some of the questions Doran was asking were my questions. So
yeah.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I mean, it's hard to.
It's really hard to follow that up with a new conversation starter. I agree with you.
I'm not even in the mood because I feel like we did him a disservice because there's so many great things he's doing as an adult. That's why we kind of got to get him back on. I just don't want, you don't have to come on here and tell me how great I am. I'm not interested in that. But, it wasn't the idea. The idea was so people could understand how much work it took and how hard it was to get where you were. It's to play, you have to train for thousands of hours, not hundreds, thousands.
Mm-hmm.
It's so hard. It's so difficult to play. And I just don't think people get it. And that's kind of really what I'm looking forward to Sunday and hearing from Jacob, because they have sort of like a similar pathway a little bit and kind of being trailblazers in a way.
Yeah.
So I know the kind of work that they both put in, and it's commendable is not even the word. You sacrifice your time that every other teenager had to do something special.
Oh, absolutely. Jacob Steinmetz, I think by the second half of his senior year, he wasn't even at Hafter. I think he was in Florida.
I was in Florida. So you're really, Tamir missed his whole senior year with his friends. So you to do something special, you got to sacrifice a lot, and people don't get it. But you don't get to the position where Tamir's in now as a voice for our people somewhat in a particular arena without making the sacrifices. So I have this thing I used to tell kids, you have to live like no one else now so you can live like no one else later. So while all your friends are playing video games and hanging out, you're in the gym doing the work, or you're on a baseball field doing the work, and then later on in your life, you're going to be able to change the world a little bit. And I mean, whether we didn't really get into this or not, but Tamir changed the world. Our little basketball team changed the world.
Right.
Tamir, none of this in basketball that you're seeing right now with Ryan or anybody else.
No, every little step that athletes like Tamir, Jacob, and Ryan have taken have been part of a springboard,
And he changed the world. He really did. He brought great respect to the Jewish people as far as, he wouldn't compromise his values. He handled himself with class no matter what happened. And he continues to do that to this day, where he is a bridge between both the basketball communities of the African American community and Jewish community. He's a bridge that, I could name, the names that he's affected, and including Mike Sweetney, and he's just done such great work. I'm just so proud of him. He's I grew up, I want to be like Tamir, that's kind of thing, he's great. People don't come along often. And when you find him, you gotta acknowledge it and take advantage of what you have in front of you.
Yeah. But whenever you're coaching your current high school players, do you ever try to reference like a Tamir value and try to instill it in them, or not so much?
I mean, it's two different. There's not a player at this year's Sarachek tournament. I mean, there's a lot of really good players in that tournament. None of them step on the floor with that guy.
Yeah.
That guy's like a whole nother level. So trying to do that. And it's not fair to my guys. It's not fair to Tamir.
Right.
It's not fair to my guys because they, there are lessons we could learn from that. And Tamir's worked my guys out when he's been in America. And he's a ball buster, to be honest with you. He's tough. But no, it's just
right. You would never be like, this is what Tamir did in this situation.
Yeah, I'd never do that. I'd never do that. And I'd never do that. It's not fair to them. And by the way, I have great relationships with all my players. So I talk to a lot of them, almost all of them. So it's talk to almost all of them. Every few months.
And I'm sure you have other players that have changed the world. We're just not hearing.
Absolutely, but not like this guy.
Right. But
he's just special.
They just don't have the platform that he does.
Right. And he's taking advantage of it in the correct way. There's two ways to do it: a good way or a bad way. He's doing it in a great way.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm most proud of. Do we have to pimp somebody right here, or like you see the league pass or subscribe or something?
You just did, Coach.
Oh, never mind then. I mean, there's not a lot more. I think we're good for tonight.
Yeah, great episode. Thanks so much, as always, to everyone for tuning in. Special thanks to Tamir for coming on. We hope to have him back. Our next episode will, God willing, be next Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, 8 o'clock prime time. We'll have Jacob Steinmetz. We'll talk to him about his current experiences with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
It's tonight. I can't believe I have to watch a game now because I missed it because I'm talking to you.
Right. Yeah. Because you need to go in prepared. Otherwise, you're not going to know what flew.
I mean, I like watching them pitch anyway. Yeah. I'm a big baseball fan. So.
Yeah. Yankees have lost back-to-back series, so I'm not in a good state right now.
Do you want a spoiler on how he's doing, or do you just want to watch it from scratch and not know?
I'll take the spoiler.
All right. I'm hearing the first 4 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 4 strikeouts, no runs.
That's
and
great.
then in the 5th inning, he gave up a run on a hit and 2 walks and left after getting 1 out and was responsible for runners on the corners.
In the 5th.
In the 5th.
All
so
right.
Potential for 4.1 innings, somewhere between 1 and 3 earned runs and a whip of just over 1 strikeout.
Oh, that's great. He's getting there.
I'm looking forward to asking him about the pitch clock too. We'd love to get his thoughts.
He's getting there. That was a great outing. Good. Yeah. I'm happy for him.
And we'll, of course, talk to him about his World Baseball Classic experience.
Yeah, I hope they don't score. Okay, great. I do. I plan on watching it a little bit.
Yeah.
So I paid $30 for it. I may as well watch.
Special thanks to everyone. Thanks to Coach. Thanks to Tamir. Always love being here. This is the highlight of my week.
Thank you, Pop.
Thank you, Pop. And everyone have a great Israeli Independence Day and a great night. And we'll see you on Sunday for Sunday Night Harold Katz podcasting.
There you go. Night, guys.